What's going on, everybody? This is Trosky Tuesday with Master Teacher Nate Trosky. I am your host, Josh Hammer, and I am thrilled to have you join us once again tonight as we continue our deep dive into Time Under Tension, Part 2, Mental Game. Our topic will be breaking down the crucial moments when throwing errors occur and exploring how the mental game works and how that plays a pivotal role in handling these plays. And there's a lot more to dive into. In fact, we could probably do a whole saga bigger than the Star Wars series, if you ask me, on this topic, because it can apply to almost every position. But as you know, when you're stepping into Trosky Tuesday, you're here to get our dedicated elite Infield insights, and no one better than Coach Nate Trosky, who is with us, joining us live right here, right now, as the song goes, from the Dominican Republic. Coach Trosky, how's it going? Good to see you.
Hammer, doing great, buddy. It's good to be here. Thank you, buddy.
All right, I'm warmed up. What do we got, Coach? What do we got?
So we're going to dig into time under tension. And 2 weeks ago, we talked about really kind of the foundational breakdown of Major League throwers. And when you think of Major League throwers, I think of all throwers because they're the best in the game. And so we've been assessing the 15 leading causes to throwing errors. And we really noticed that it's about 80% is a product of running out of time constraints. So we really got, we dug into the video and we're like, there's not enough time. The mental game is actually king, right? So the mental game is really the piece, the mind is the engine. And so we want to get into the mental game tonight. And 2 shows ago, we focused on really the video and looking at how the breakdown happened, what were the causes, and now we're going to talk about really getting your mind right. But before we get into that, I'd like to welcome everybody to the show and say thank you for being here. And Hammer, thank you for getting things going. And we're excited. And another thing that we have 2 goals tonight. One, to have a great show, but also the second goal is to finish under an hour. So we're going to really strive to be on time. I'm shooting for 45 minutes tonight. So that's our new goal, 45-minute shows. And in the future, we're going to do some pre-recording so we can show the shows earlier, and people that are on the East Coast and later times will be able to tune in and be with us. So we're excited about that. Got some regulars on there. I'm trying to see if I can make my screen just a little bit bigger so I can see some people.
Well,
so for some reason it's shrunk, Hammer. It's like it's really small. And I feel like I'm talking to you like you're a mile away. I need to see it. I'm trying to get. Oh,
I
there
am
we go.
a mile away, but
there we go. I got the cursor.
Classic.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So, time under tension, looking at the errors in the big leagues and across the board, looking at the 15 leading causes to throwing errors. And what we see is that the breakdown is a product of time under tension. That means running out of time constraints. And over the last about 10 years, I've really focused in on this concept of time. And we produced this app. It's not out to the public yet, but we have this app. It's a countdown clock and it's special. And I introduced it to Bobby Witt Jr. Just after his rookie season. And that was one of the turning points, pivotal points to his career and moving into being a Gold Glover this year and being one of the best players in the game. And so he talked about it in an interview, and it was really cool because his hitting coach, Jeremy Eisenhower, sent me the interview, and it was a big like write-up. And Bobby was talking about how we worked like on components of player development that were out of the box. He's like, I've never worked on some of this stuff, and he said Trosky's pretty creative guy, and the stuff that had an impact on who I became. So it's been coming to this head of really putting the product together so that we can share it with people. And it's just through experience, really. And it's through, understanding the importance of challenge reps. And it really all stemmed from studying hitters, Major League hitters. And I wrote it in an album for the Hall of Fame, a music album, and it was based on the Hall of Fame hitters, some of the greats like Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, Hal Trosky, and there's a few others, and Hank Greenberg's another one. And so I studied these guys' lives, and as I studied their lives, this was started about 15 years ago, 15 to 20 years ago, and I was studying the lives of these Hall of Famers, and I started to realize that the common theme for all these hitters was challenge. And guys like Mickey Mantle, guys like Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, they were being challenged. And so I'm like, wow, this is fascinating. This was before the challenge reps really came on the scene, because now it's a pretty common idea. But I found it before people started talking about it. And I realized that the number one common denominator really was this concept that I call challenge reps. And I came up with the definition of success, defining it as the highest number of predictable reps. So the highest number of quality predictable reps, plus, second piece of the definition, the highest number of quality unpredictable challenge reps, game speed, game focus, game challenge. So guys like Pete Rose, guys like Mickey Mantle, the best switch hitter of all time, the best hit tool of all time, Pete Rose, the best switch hitting tool of all time, Mickey Mantle, the greatest rookie of all time, Hal Trosky, the greatest hitter of all time, top to bottom, Hank Aaron. You just start looking at their lives and you see challenge, 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 challenge. One example, Mickey Mantle, his father threw right-handed, his grandfather threw left-handed. And so every night they'd come home from the mine working, and they weren't baseball guys, they were miners. And they'd come home, and they lived in Oklahoma, and they had this barn, and that was like the strike zone in the back of the barn. And Grandpa threw left-handed, so Mickey would bat right-handed for 30 minutes, and Grandpa would try to strike him out. And the whole thing was strikeout. And then Dad threw right-handed, so then Mickey would flip around and bat left-handed. He did it every night. So he had 2 BP throwers, but they were challenge reps. And so he had 2 throwers, 1 left-handed, 1 right-handed. And every night he basically let speed, okay, be the teacher. Speed was the teacher. And so when I started to realize this theme, speed exposes all deficiencies. And that's why as the game speeds up, players have a very difficult time sustaining mechanics that are marginal. Unless your mechanics are sound, you get exposed. But the higher athletic IQ an athlete has, so naturally, what have they been blessed with, right? Higher athleticism allows players to get away with being less fundamentally sound. So this concept of speed, so you keep going up the ladder, you go from, youth to middle school, to high school, travel ball, and then you're in freshman JV to varsity, and then you bump up to college, and college to minor leagues to big leagues, big leagues to the playoffs, or to being an all-star player. And it's like, it just keeps speeding up. And so this element of speed is very important. And so we see it even at the big league levels where the major leaguers break down. And we see it at the minor league and the college levels as well, and the high school levels. So that's our theme. This season I was watching, it was Arkansas versus Texas, and in 2 innings they had 6 errors, 6 throwing errors, and they were all based on time under tension. Mm-hmm. So within 2 innings, excuse me, within 2 innings they had 6 throwing errors, and it was only based on time under tension. I introduced the countdown clock as I started to build on this theme over the last 10 plus years. Now, like I said, it's coming to like this kind of this head of really, having a variety of drills and teaching tools within the idea of time under tension. The countdown clock began, and the countdown clock's just like a basketball clock. You have 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 12 seconds. Well, the average runner in the major leagues and even in college, and the plus high school runner that's on the same scale is running about 4.25 home to first. So if we gauge the runner as a good runner at the pro scale, right? And the pro scale is used by all the college coaches use the same scale, and so do the prospects that are being evaluated by college coaches and pro scouts are being evaluated on the same scale. So if we're talking average runner to good runner to good runner to double good runner and so forth, or poor runner to double poor runner, right? The scale goes up and down. Well, when we take our ground balls and we prepare, what happens is we're always below game speed. Human beings, they thrive in the comfort zone, and that's the human element. That's being human. We thrive on being comfortable. And so in order for us to get to game speed, typically there has to be some type of game challenge. And then we have to be held accountable to a speed. Because if I'm taking ground balls without a base runner and I'm just competing for making the play and throwing it over to first without a clock, what happens is I'll always be below game speed. The last 2 years at some of the Major League Combines that I helped run in Southern California in the summer, there's always the best infielders in Southern California, and we select the top 4 for our team. And 2 of them this year will go in the first round. And all these guys are the best, and they're committed guys. They're committed to not only committed to their craft, but they're committed, on a scholarship for the future, right? They're committed. These guys are on their way to playing Division I baseball or signing in the draft. And when I time them, so they're getting a ground ball as you get your 4 ground balls. And the last 2 years I timed them, and every play is pretty much between a 4.5 and a 4.7. That runner really doesn't even exist in the professional ranks, and even at high level Power 4 college baseball. There's not really 4.7 runners. I mean, there could be, but my point is it's rare. You might have a first baseman that might be a little overweight, who's just really slow, but he can really hit. And you see those guys even in the College World Series. But typically those guys are athletes too, and they run pretty well. So they're making plays at 4.5, 4.7, and they think they're working literally at game speed, but they don't know because they don't train on a clock. And also the body always reverts back to comfort gear. And so what happens is we train below game speed. We call that gear 3. And gear 3 is game speed. So if I'm training below game speed, I'm in gear 2, which is in comfort gear. And if I'm training in comfort gear, what happens is when I get to the game speed's up and my timing is off. So it throws me off. And now what happens is I feel tension, time under tension. Now, if I have a difficult play where I'm challenged laterally or moving, right? Or I have a good runner, but the ball's not hit that hard, right? Running out of time, which is often in the infield. What happens now is that I feel this tension and pressure. And since I'm not practicing with that normal, what happens is I start to break down. And so tension enters. And when tension enters, the body's out of order. The body is nothing but a sequence. We move in a sequence that we're training, right? That's our fundamentals. That's our footwork. That's our route, right? Our routes to the ball. So as I take a route to the balls, I have footwork into the catch, then I have the catch, then I have my footwork out of the catch, and then my throwing footwork into the throw, finish, and follow, right? I have this sequence that flows. And if I'm in sequence, what happens is I'm in rhythm, I'm in time. And so I complete the play because everything's working together. But once I have tension, right? Tension enters the equation. What happens is it throws the sequence off. The sequence is a progression of movements that follow in order. One form follows the next. It's a progression of movement that follows in order. One form follows the next. For example, pre-pitch to my first step direction that leads into my route, and my route footwork that leads into my footwork into the catch, right? Then into the posture of the catch, and then the hand action, pick, press, or receive, right? Then the momentum and direction through the catch, centering and securing the ball, transfer and pinch, right? And then my throwing footwork, short zone, long zone, to finish with follow on line. Well, you say, well, that's a lot. Well, it is a lot. And that's like a dominoes sequence, right? If one of the forms are out of order, what happens is the result's affected. So if I'm a tick off in my timing at all, or just something is out of order, out of time, out of rhythm, because I'm pressured, right? What happens is the result will be effect, right? The greater the dysfunction, the greater the effect. So if I'm just a tick off, I might be able to compensate because the first baseman might be able to come off the bag and make a tag or something, right? There's different ways to compensate, but when I'm always compensating, what happens is I continually will be exposed over time. Truth's revealed over time, and that's how we really determine really the success of an infielder, not making some plays in one game, right? So if the sequence is out of order, what happens is the result's affected. And then the greater the dysfunction, the greater the effect on the results. So if I realize everything's a sequence and I understand that tension Once I feel pressure, I'm running out of time. Once I feel that, what happens is tension enters the body. And once tension enters the body, breakdown happens. So how do we avoid this, like this tension surge, right? It's adrenaline, it's tension, and tension causes the body and the sequence to be out of order. Now, if we say 100, 100, excuse me, if we say 100, 100, that means I'm 100% relaxed, 100% in sequence. 100, 100. Now, if I'm 97, okay, percent relaxed with 3% tension, right? I'm not 100, 100. So that's a component of the sequence is out. Now let's just say I'm 90-10 or 95-5 or 80-20. The greater the dysfunction, right? The greater, right, the effect to my sequence. That means it throws everything off. What happened to my throw that time? Well, you're a little bit out. Your footwork was a little bit ahead of your transfer. You're a little bit offline, right? You got a little long with your arm stroke, okay? You didn't repeat. And so whatever it is, whatever breaks down, the result's affected. So how do we avoid this when tension enters? And it's called the relaxed muscle. It's called the educated muscle. The educated muscle is the relaxed muscle. And so how do I create this educated muscle? How do I educate my muscles so that they actually perform with the highest state of intelligence? And that's the goal. How do I find the best version of myself when the game speeds up? Because major leaguers have a hard time finding the best version of themselves, because that's when breakdown happens, the majority. Rough percentage, 80%, okay? So the relaxed muscle, the educated muscle. How do I take the educated muscle? Now I can say the educated body. The Russians, the great Russian Olympians, they coined it the educated muscle. Well, I took it a step further and said, let's just call it the educated body, because it's not one muscle. And what they found is if they focus on relaxation and they teach you how to relax, your body will be in sequence. That's the flow state. And everything you trained your body to do will actually do it, because there's no tension. But tension's the enemy to performance. It's the enemy. And so once it creeps in, and if you do not know how to release it, vision and judgment is impaired, literally. Your vision and judgment is impaired. And for a defender, everything's based on vision and judgment, just like a hitter. Everything is vision and judgment. Reading the swing, reading the ball off the bat, reading the first hop, getting an early read, and then reading one hop following the next, and then picking my hop and intersecting with the ball at the most proficient and efficient time, right? So that's all vision and judgment. So if there's tension that enters and does not release, what happens is vision and judgment is impaired. The next component is muscle and mental memory is forgotten. So everything I've trained myself to do, what happens is tension blocks the sequence. It throws it out of order, right? So now the problem is now something is off, okay, because tension enters. So my muscle memory that I actually memorized through hours and hours of building memory, mental memory, muscle memory, it's actually forgotten. Tension kills everything. It's like poison. Kills it, just kills it. Vision, judgment, impaired muscle and mental memory, forgotten. Reaction time is delayed and athleticism is lost. So the athlete, right, this high IQ, right, high athleticism, right, this athletic intelligence, this guy's talented, but the talent is not seen because athleticism is lost. So we say, hey, this athlete doesn't sound like a very good infielder, right? He's not. Vision and judgment impaired, muscle and mental memory forgotten, reaction time delayed, athleticism lost. Now that's a problem. This is a big problem. And now what happens is now you're good by mistake, you're good by accident. You make plays just because you can pull them off, and some plays aren't that hard, and sometimes your first baseman saves you, and sometimes it's an easy force out at second base, right? So how do we get to this state of the educated body, the educated muscle? Well, first and foremost, it has to become a priority. Priority. And if it's not, what happens is the body naturally, once it feels pressure, what happens? Once it feels it's at risk, it creates tension. So we have to reprogram. as infielders, we have to train faster, reprogram. And so what I'd like to do right now is show you some videos that I've taken even this morning. I live in the Dominican Republic, and so this is what I see every day. And I'm going to explain it first, and we're going to show 4 videos that are about under 10 seconds long. And what you're going to see, and I don't have, every example that I see, I can't film it because first and foremost, I'm filming mothers and fathers riding motorcycles with babies, right? And so they're like, who's this dude like filming me? So I'm getting it through my windshield, right? I'm getting him to go by. Like I'm just trying to snatch these quick shots because it's so powerful. Speed is eliminated. Speed is irrelevant once it becomes desensitized. But you can desensitize anything. And my grandfather, one was a major league player. The other was a horseman. And he spook-proofed his horses. That was one of his biggest things. And he taught me that when I was young. And whenever you have these stud colts, man, they are hot. I mean, they are hot. They are ready to run through a wall, right? And any action that they're not used to seeing, a branch just cracks behind them. They're up, right? They're up, throwing people off their back or just hoofs up. And I mean, it's scary. And they're horses are big, they're strong, and they have their own minds. And so when they get spooked, they're spooked, and they're literally like thinking that something's going to kill them, right? Animals of prey. And so he would spook proof his horses, and he taught me how. He was just always rubbing sticks on their backs and smacking them, and he'd get the shears, and he'd put it around their nose. And whenever he was brushing them, he'd have me hit them with newspaper and just all this stuff to spook proof them, hit their feet like if a stick hits their leg and they don't know what it is, and they get spooked, like when you're trail riding or something, they throw you, off the cliff. I mean, that stuff happens, right? They get spooked. So spook proofing, okay. The horse is deliberate. It's a priority. Well, from the infield concept, we don't really spook proof our infielders. And the guys that do, it's rare. And I'll give you one example. Westmont College were the NAIA champions. My buddy Tyler Latore is the head coach now. They just went D2. Yeah. Tyler was a Division I coach. He played pro ball for like 10 years. So, I mean, he's a high level baseball guy. He just got a head job at a beautiful NAIA private institution in Santa Barbara, Southern California. And so he took that job in 1 year, they won it. And so he took the program from Robert Ruiz, and Robert would defend the 4-1 every day. They were always on a clock, and they're always defending the 4-1. So the 4-1 is a plus runner. 4-3 is a good runner. 4-2-5, 4-3, that's a good runner. They're defending the 4-1 every day. And so what happened is they led, small college baseball in defense. Well, the next year Tyler comes in, and he continues it, and they win the College World Series for small colleges. And I run some infield camps, with him down there after we do our area codes with the Brewers, with the Major League Baseball. And he's always talking about the clock. Well, you know what? I talk to so many Division I coaches and pro coaches, and they don't use the clock. Or they might use it occasionally. We're talking one of the highest, if not highest priorities. This is where breakdown happens, right? So how do we spook proof? So we're going to show you guys some videos of, this is me driving, and you're going to see babies on gas tanks and on the back and in the arms of moms. And before you show these clips, we're talking, and I can't get them all, but we're talking sometimes. Today I saw like a 1 to 2 month older. 1 to 2 month old little baby, like this big. Mom's just holding them just like this. Baby's this big, pacifiers, and they're just driving down like this. And there's a few stoplights, but no one stops. Nobody stops, and nobody stops at stop signs, and everybody's going in different directions. And at night, there's no lights on cars. Half of them don't even work. And the motorcycles, half of them don't have. And they dress in black, and they got black motorcycles, and they have dark skin, and you can't see them. And they're holding babies, and it's just normal. And so these babies become desensitized, right? They actually become reprogrammed. And so we can reprogram any infielder. So let's take a look. So this is me. Let's show that one again. So you see that baby, I'm filming behind me, right? And you see that little baby, see, there he goes. And he's going about 40 miles an hour. That baby's about probably 1. And and by the way, he's not supposed to pass me. Okay. That's just, yeah. And there's nobody on the street right there because I'm on one of the back streets, but like there's holes everywhere, speed bumps everywhere. And he's just passing me because he doesn't want to wait. And he's going about 40 miles an hour. I'm going about 30 and he's just goes right by me. Okay.
It's awesome.
Hanging out with his wife. She's on the back. Little one's on the front.
They could have at least waved. All right, here we go. Here we go.
This one is a family of 4. So you see sister. I think you see sister, mom, dad, and little sister, I think.
My gosh.
Go ahead.
What's up?
And I'm taking Liam to school right there. So Liam's right next to me. A lot of these shots are in the morning because they got to get everybody to school. And I'm not being judgmental at all because a lot of these, the families don't have cars. So I'm just painting a picture of like desensitizing speed. Speed becomes irrelevant. You should have a couple more up there.
I got one more loaded. Let's see.
This one's all time. So look at this little baby. Under a year. Okay, so that's her European boyfriend there. He's maybe from Germany and so Dominican woman, she jumps on the back and she's just hanging on to him like he's a football. And
Heisman.
there they go. And they're going to jump on the highway here in a second. And they're off. So the highway's 1 block away and he's turning left to get on the highway.
Dude.
But nobody think that baby is just like, yeah, this is like hanging out in a crib. Okay. And so as they get older, what happens, you'll see the older ladies that are 60, 70, 80, riding on the back of the motorcycle sideways just like that because they've been doing it their whole life. And they're on the freeway going fast and they're desensitized, right? Now I want to get into the cheetah because the cheetah really is the best example. It's the most elite mover in the world, the most elite land mover. And there's reasons why, and there's some parallels we want to talk about. But I'd like to show the cheetah, okay? And before we show the cheetah, this is a 1-minute video, okay? And before we show the cheetah, okay, the baby, okay, has the relaxation of the cheetah. Ian Kinsler, one of the better infielders in the last, he retired about 5 years ago and he was an all-star and a gold glover and he was a competitive giant. The guy hit, he played defense. I've done some things with Warsick over the years, so I got to build a small relationship with him, and he was on our show, and he talked about his way up. And one reason why this became a theme years ago is because I just continue to talk to people, and you watch the game, you go, and this is where breakdown happens, but this is when players talk about struggle, this is what they talk about. And, this guy's in Double-A. And he makes his way to the big leagues and becomes one of the best. He's like, I don't know if I can get out of the minor league. That's what he's thinking because every time the game would speed up for double play feeds and turns, especially right, when you're running out of time, he said, his heart would accelerate, tension would enter. We talked about the sequence now is out of order. The body's out of order. It's not flowing in rhythm and time. So something is off. And he goes, so often I would throw the ball away and half the time would go in the dugout. And he goes, I didn't know what to do. And he said, it only happened when I was speeding up, right? Well, that's common. Now, some guys are better at it, but most of us struggle with it, right? Because we don't train at that speed. So he had a trainer who came in, he's a mental guy, Matt Mark, and he talked about the cheetah. And so he talked about the face of the cheetah. And he talked about when the cheetah is in the den, like the baby in a crib. The cheetah's in the den, okay? It has this relaxed state, okay? The baby in the crib has this relaxed state. So we're going to put the two together, the baby on the motorcycle, the cheetah, okay, on the hunt. And so as the cheetah speeds up, the baby speeds up. What happens? The baby does not speed up. It still has the calm of the crib, okay? And the cheetah has the zen of the den. Okay, the calm of the crib, the zen of the den. So when the cheetah's in the den with its cubs, okay, it has this easiness, okay? When the baby's in the crib, it has its easiest. Now, cheetahs on the hunt going 60 to 70 miles an hour, it has the same calm. And so he showed Ian Kinsler a picture of the face of the cheetah on the hunt and then the face of the cheetah in the den. And they were side by side. He says, can you tell when the cheetah's hunting and when the cheetah's in the den? And the face looks the same. You can't even tell the difference. And he says, see, this is the state. And that's all Kinsler told me. That's all he told me. And he says that made a significant impact. He says, I started to train fast. And we call that gear 5, which is accelerated game speed. So I was doing all this training many years before I talked to Kinsler, but it just continued to reinforce and continued to say, Nate, you got to continue to prioritize this because the big leaguers are struggling with it, right? And then now as we're doing these evaluations and these critiquing these pro players, we're seeing it even more. I never knew it's 80%. I knew a large percentage of plays, that break down are because guys are running out of time, but I didn't really realize it's almost, it's close to 100%. It's off the charts, right? So we prioritize it, okay? So he's like, man, this is crazy. So he started training. He goes, Matt Mark's doing all this extra fast stuff, right? The problem with extra fast accelerated speed training is most of the time mechanics break down. So you actually build sloppy habits. And so you watch guys on Instagram all the time. I see it all the time. They start losing their center point of separation. They start losing posture, right? They lose their line. They lose their spine angle of staying balanced. There's all this stuff that starts shifting because the faster you move, the harder it is to sustain balance and sustain posture. But the problem is that here comes another one, so no one's evaluating the last one. We're trying to get to the next rep. And, we got 15 reps in a row. We're trying to go so fast. And so what happens is players oftentimes get worse. So he was training faster than the game. He said, I get to the game's slowing down. I would have this model in my mind of the cheetah. He said, it changed my life, right? So I went on and studied cheetahs. I said, I'm going to study the cheetah and find really what's going on with this cheetah. The greatest separator with the cheetah is the same great separator of elite infielders. Yes, elite infielders, and I'm not saying you're the most athletic, but just, elite infielders, guys that are good, right? Solid infielders with elite, skill base, right? They're solid. So you say, okay, this cheetah, okay, how does he sustain? Okay, how does the elite infielder sustain? Well, you know what they do? They sustain this level of relaxation. Okay, some people are born with it, but it's very few. So we have to train as if we're the baby on the gas tank, desensitizing and reprogramming speed. As the speed slows down, like the baby on the tank, the baby being held by her mom and the arm going on the highway, because they're going to jump on that highway and go about 55. And that baby's just chilling with a pacifier in her mouth. It's like, yeah, right? The calm in the crib, the zen in the den. So now the cheetah's on the hunt and it's moving at full speed, at full throttle, and it has this relaxed state. So the body's in perfect sequence, rhythm, and time. Nothing is off because of the relaxation. There's no tension. But what happens is tension does enter. The question is what are you going to do with it? And when you create a new normal, tension starts to not enter because that is your speed. Let's watch the cheetah. What we're going to see is when we show this video, let's go back just a little bit. Okay, go ahead and pause it right there. Okay, it's just a minute. And I took it offline and I just threw a bunch of words on it, some of our teaching points. But it's called Cheetah Zen. Okay, the Zen of the cheetah is CSR. CSR is calm mind, slow heart, relaxed body. That's Patrick Mahomes, that's Steph Curry, that's Nolan Arenado, that's Ian Kinsler. Okay, it's defenders that work and practice the difficult and they practice broken plays, unrehearsed plays, breakdown, difficulty, challenge, right? They practice it and they practice it at game speed, game challenge, right? And we talked about the definition of success earlier. The definition of success is the highest number of game speed, game focus, game challenge reps, unpredictable game speed, game focus, game challenge reps. That's the game. That is the game. And when you train the game, okay, what happens? When you play the game, you're just at practice. And your normal has been established, but you have to establish it. So we're going to go into watching this cheetah. And before we do, the next screen is going to say CSR. And following CSR, it's going to say calm mind, slow heart, relaxed body. That's the definition of being in peak performance when the game starts speeding up, time under tension, And the elite mover, the elite defender, performs with a calm mind, slow heart, relaxed body.
In the Serengeti, cheetahs live uneasy lives. Females with cubs must hunt. Left alone, their offspring are exposed to the savagery of more powerful predators. Even scavengers can gain the upper hand over this slender feline built for speed. Cheetahs are the fastest, but also the most vulnerable of the big cats. Two cheetah mothers, both with varying fortunes, raise their families against all the odds. Does experience count, or are they both at the mercy of Lady Luck?
So regardless of the speed that the cheetah moves, regardless of time under tension, it doesn't make any difference. The cheetah has this ability to stay calm, slow, and relaxed in the heat of the hunt. And the question is how do we do that? And how are we going to do that? And how are we going to bring that into our game and create a new normal? And that's not easy to do, but it begins with really preparation. And our motto is preparation is our greatest strength. Preparation is my greatest strength as a player. Preparation is my greatest strength, and I'll beat you with my mind. So it begins with, number one, creating a new normal. When I was coaching professionally in Germany, we were coming back. I was picked up in Frankfurt, and I had to drive 4 hours with the owner of the team, and he was in a $250,000 Mercedes, and it had a race motor. His buddy was a race car guy, and he had these dynamic motors, and so he gave this race engine. So this car is going about 180, and he picked me up in the Frankfurt airport. He drove me back to Cologne, Germany, and he was cruising at 160, like drinking a cappuccino and text messaging, right? And my heart rate was sped up, right? My mind was uneasy, it was not calm. My heart rate was not slow, it was sped up. And my body was not relaxed, it had tension. And I'm sitting there totally out of the Zen state. We call it the cheetah Zen state, right? It's CSR. And so he's in CSR and I'm not, because I just came from the United States of America where the speed limit's 65 and I got a Toyota truck, right? I'm driving a Tacoma at 70, thinking, oh, this is cool. This guy's driving a high-end Mercedes going 160 to 180 miles an hour and just relaxed, right? So that normal, that new normal is only created by being consistent with training, with speed, okay? Now, you have to close the gap between training sessions. It's not 2 weeks ago I did a speed session, and then another 2 weeks went by and I did another one. That's 2 sessions in 1 month, okay? Closing the gap and making it a priority, okay? Creating new normals. Well, you know what happens? If I'm in that car the next day, going back to Frankfurt, and let's just say we go back and forth for 2 weeks, well, you know what happens? That becomes my normal. Because I build that normal, so that concept goes into training, okay? Now, these last 2 weeks, I'm gonna give you 2 examples, but I can give you many, but I'm gonna give you just 2 examples. I talked today to one of my buddies who played nearly 10 years in the NFL. So, and he's a detail guy, okay? He's all about our footwork mastery. He does all the plays, all 36 with his son all the time. And when I train major leaguers, he comes out because he's one of the guys that helped introduce me to some of them. And so he comes out with his 8th grade son, now in 9th grade. And his son was actually better fundamentally than big leaguers, right? Okay. So he told me this story today. He said, we use the clock all the time. He said, Bobby Witt's hitting coach, I showed it to him the other day and he said, man, he was blown away. And he said, Bobby's got to start using this thing. Well, he does. He uses it with me, but he does need to use it on his own. But this is what he told me. He says, because he trains young guys, because his son's young. So he trains 7th, 8th, 9th graders, okay? And he's out on the high school field, and this is one of the top programs in Texas. Every guy on the varsity team is a commit, Division I commit to big schools, Power Fours, okay? So he's out there this last weekend with his 7th and 8th and 9th graders, okay? And he's on the clock, and he's like, forget defending the 4-1 home to first. He goes, we're going to defend the 3-4. That's like Mickey Mantle, okay? That's like El Tuve on a drag bunt, okay? It's like not even real. 3-4. I mean, come on. And he goes, my guys were dominating it on the big diamond. Okay, now, one of the varsity guys comes out who's never on a clock. It's like me sitting in the passenger seat on the Autobahn. My normal is 70, but we're going 160. Tension, breakdown, okay? Out of sequence. Remember, vision and judgment is impaired. Muscle and mental memory is forgotten. Athleticism is forgotten. Reaction time is delayed. Okay, that is the byproduct. Okay, those are the results, the consequences of when tension enters. Okay, so now this guy comes out. He's like, "Hey man, can I work with you guys?" And he's like, "Sure, come on out." That varsity infielder was exposed in like 1 minute because he had no chance. He's defending the 3.4 home to first. That's Mickey Mantle. The 7th, 8th, and 9th graders were like dominant. And this guy is just bobble city, throw it away, can't secure the ball. It was just problematic. Who's a better athlete? The varsity player. Who's stronger? Who's more physical? Who's more experienced? There's like no comparison. But the 7th, 8th, and 9th graders were better fundamentally, and they were race fit, race ready. They weren't just race fit. Race fit means I go to practice, but the question is what's the return on my practice, right? That's being race ready when my training functionally applies to the game. And when you look at infield play, it doesn't apply, okay? It's a bunch of drills, and when I get in the game, now I have to have split-second decision-making, okay? And I have to be on the dime. And if I'm not, you know what happens? An in-between hop stays an in-between hop, okay? The short hop becomes an in-between hop. I'm not proactive. The ball starts to control me, okay? So this high school guy, he breaks down, and my buddy's like, this is real. And you know what? I know it's real. It's the best tool in the world. It's going to change the game. So a week ago, okay, I'm in Arizona. We have the Trosky, Arizona teams. There's 80 players there, okay? And so we did, I call them speed drills. Every single drill has a clock, okay? And the shortstops were on the countdown clock. And so the owner of the organization, he's very wealthy. He's a very kind, successful businessman. Loves baseball. His son's a Division I player right now, looking to get drafted, a standout. And he comes on the field, pulls up in the parking lot, comes out. He says, "Hey, Nate, what's going on?" And I told him what we were doing. I said, this is the most important component of practice. And I said, let's just watch the shortstops. We watched the shortstop. There was a line of like 8 guys at shortstop. And these are good players. Okay. 25 plays is all they're doing is we're just hitting them easy ground balls from the pitcher's mound. Okay. But they were on a clock now. Okay. And then they had to do some double plays too. Okay. How many errors do you think they made out of 25? And these are good players. What do you think, Hammer?
I'm not sure. It cut off.
It was like 21.
21. Okay. Oh, I got you. There it goes. There's a delay on my.
It was unbelievable. And I just said, watch again. We had this 6x6 screen at first base. We didn't have a first baseman. We had a 6x6 screen. They couldn't even hit it. You know why? Because they couldn't get a grip. Because they feel pressure. And then there's tension and the sequence is off. You're throwing sequences out of order, right? The dominoes are not flowing like water. Okay, there's hesitation. It's like my backpack. I got this backpack, this Rawlings backpack. If it's out of posture at all, the zipper don't work.
Yep.
And it's like, right? And you just keep grinding it. But if the posture's sustained, it's easy. There's no hiccup, there's no hesitation. It's free flowing, right? Well, that's when the body's in sequence. 21 out of 25 errors, either on the catch, the transfer, or the throw, okay? But it was all based on time under tension. Now, before you introduce the clock, how many plays do you think they make out of 25? They make 90% of them. It flips.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about creating time under tension. But the problem is this. We did it on the weekend. You know how many times they've done it probably since? It's been a week and a half now, 2 weeks. I would guarantee that there's not 2 guys out of the 80 that have been training on the countdown clock or on just a stopwatch. And every single drill we did was a stopwatch or a countdown clock. The point of is this: there's no habit. We have to create new habits.
Yep.
Whatever habits you have, they need to be changed. I was at the beach yesterday in the morning, and I live on this piece of land in the Dominican. It's, we live in town, but we have like 2 acres, and the lot next to us is maybe 3 acres, and the other one to my right is like 2 or 3 acres. So we have a very special place here right across the street from the beach. And so one of the surfers was like, my grandfather used to live right next to you on the property next to you. And I said, really? That's really cool. And I said, how's he doing? He said, he passed away. And I said, how old was he? He said, he's 105. And I said, what was his secret? 105? He says he was a man of routines. Routines, okay? Routines and process. But the question is what are your routines and what is your process? Because you cannot outperform your process and routines. You can't. So your routines and process will define you over time. Maybe not this week. A major league season, 162 games, 180 days. A minor league season, 142, 155. College season, 56 and 90. High school, 30 and 70. Dominican Summer League, 72 and 89. Okay, that's a lot of baseball, but truth is revealed over an extended amount of time. And if you don't have great routines and a great process, what happens is time under tension will create tension. And you know what happens? We've already spoke about it multiple times. When tension enters the body, vision, judgment impaired, muscle and mental memory forgotten. Athleticism is lost. Reaction time is delayed. And so you say, hey man, I want to perform. I want to be at the state of peak performance, total performance, best version of myself on a regular basis. You have to find the state of the cheetah. The cheetah is on the hunt with the same relaxation. Okay. How do we do it? By training faster and by training the game. That becomes our highest priority. Now, Bobby Witt, okay, this is a tactic that I used with Bobby, and I'm going to share with you. I call it Z3. And so I asked my players, I asked Bobby, I said, Bobby, what is your favorite drink? He says, Blue Gatorade. I says, we're going to identify your favorite drink. That's Z1. It's Z3, which is the 3 components that put you in the state of Zen in the Den CSR. So Bobby, when he's drinking his Blue Gatorade, he's feeling right. Okay. I said, then where are you sitting, Bobby? He says, I'm sitting on my red velvet couch down in the basement of my house. He still lives with his parents. He says, it's my trophy room, my baseball room. I got a red velvet couch. I'm down on that couch drinking Blue Gatorade. And then he said, I said, Bobby, what are you listening to? Or what are you watching? He says, I'm listening to chill music. Blue Gatorade, red velvet couch, chill music. That's when he's at this highest state of the Zen in the Den, right? Where he's at the state of calm mind, slow heart, relaxed body. And I said, when you're on the field, because after his rookie season, there was a lot of tension. And there's times when he was actually uncomfortable on the field because he was making errors and he didn't feel comfortable in moving around position to position. He's a young player trying to find his way, right? I said, anytime you're on that field and you feel uncomfortable, I want you to go back to the red velvet couch, drinking Blue Gatorade, listening to chill music. And that helped him on his process. Z3. Players, you can pick your favorite drink, pick your favorite place to sit, pick what you're listening to. My ultimate is sitting in first class, eating an ice cream sundae, and watching Major League plays. That's when I'm in my Zen in the Den. Okay. Z3, Zen in the Den. Find your Zen. Where are we at with time?
We are at time. So
beautiful.
Yeah, right. That's a perfect way to end. And when I think of Z3, someone was commenting in the chat. Yeah, I know you don't watch a lot of TV, but Happy Gilmore, when he goes to his happy place, that's what I tell my players that I work with is find your happy place. I think Z3 works a lot better and makes a lot more sense. But there's a lot of ways to, as coaches, if you're on this chat, find your own voice and find your Z3 as a coach, because players are going to watch you as a coach. So some coaches, their heart rate accelerates, and that sends a big neon billboard to the rest of the dugout too. You guys that are on the chat, I would just underscore everything Coach Trosky just said, even from the coach's perspective and the coach's lens. Also very important.
Beautiful. So they should just understand we're going to put the part 1, which shows the major leaguers running out of time, right, and showing them making plays, but actually not. Right, they're in the midst of making plays, but they're not making plays. They're not executing because of time and attention, right? And so that's a product of not preparing well. Okay, my greatest strength is my preparation, and I win with my mind. How do I win with my mind if my mind's uneasy? You can't. Your heart rate is accelerated. Your body has tension. You're not winning with anything, okay? Because you're going to make mistakes, right? Preparation, preparation, preparation. I make every play in practice, so when I play the game, I'm just at practice. And then I build into it gear 4, okay? In gear 3. Gear 3 is game speed. Gear 4 is accelerated game speed. Gear 5 is overspeed. That's a whole nother level. Get to gear 3 and gear 4 as often as you can. Make that a priority. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Appreciate it.
Yep. We're signing off. Have a great night, everybody. Get your watches out to keep us on time, to keep yourself on time.
Beautiful.
It's time
and let
for
people
bed.
know, Hammer, about all the information for the 15 leading causes of throwing errors. We have the release point versatility that we completed about a month ago. That stuff still is not up yet because we had some things we needed to polish. So all that stuff's going to be in our membership, and it's exciting stuff. And there's going to be about 10 other pieces that are relating to throwing. I've been working on projects for over 5 years. We have one just called the V slot. It's about 15 minutes long. We have one called center, which is just focusing on the center point. It's some really dynamic stuff, and over the next year, that stuff will be released. And it's game-changing information. It's simple, it's well done, and it's transforming. So check out our membership. And you want to tell them how to find out about the membership?
Yep, it's all in the chat. Everybody, you could visit us at troskybaseball.com if you're a newcomer, or you could go to goldglove.troskybaseball.com, which is also in the comments if you'd like a direct link to our Gold Glove membership. Everything that we talked about tonight and every Trosky Tuesday, what's very unique about what we bring to the table, it's unbelievable, is we're bringing visuals to what Nate just described. Now, we're not bringing real life cheetahs. We don't have film of us with cheetahs, but we do have athletic movers. I know myself, Nate mentioned how I'm filling out on this shirt, but that's because I'm doing my elite athletic movers, jump rope, and yoga. There's a lot of good stuff even for coaches on there. But players, if you're really trying to elevate your game, I can tell you right now, this is one of the best tools, if not the best, especially around infield. I've never seen anything like it. I work with pitchers and catchers, and there's still things that apply to all positions too. So it's a complete package if you were to ask me. So visit troskybaseball.com, visit our Gold Glove membership. We have Black Friday deal that's booming, and we're getting a lot of great feedback on that as well. So as we're getting ready for the holiday season, go ahead and get yourself a little early Christmas present. I know I want one, so you can send them my way too if you really want. But troskybaseball.com. This is it for Trosky Tuesday. We'll see you back here next Tuesday for Trosky Tuesday. Good night, everybody.